What's up, guys? It's your boy Jalen here on another episode of Elevated Minds. Today's episode is going to be called How to Fix Your Toxic Traits. Yeah, so this is going to be a really great one, especially since no one thinks that, they have toxic traits, but you'll be surprised. Everybody's got them. So if this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, follow me on all my socials. All that stuff's going to be down below. It's going to help me with my algorithm if you like the video. Let's go ahead and hop into this one, guys. All right. So this is going to be a good one. First, you got to identify what are toxic traits. And I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying this, guys. Every single person has been through something. We've all been through some type of, trauma or some type of negative thing that's happened. Someone's done something to us. Could have been betrayed, whatever. A lot of bad things happen in life sometimes. But that's no excuse to be toxic or to be hateful or to spread, all your toxicity everywhere. It's no excuse for that. So this video is going to be talking about how to identify it and things that you need to do and be wary of, because no one around you deserves to have to deal with your toxicity. That's just the way it is. So let's go on and dive into this. So first thing is, what is toxicity? Sometimes people don't, they kind of throw away that, throw that word around. Oh, you're toxic. Oh, you're toxic. Oh, he's so toxic. But what does it really mean? Being toxic is something where you're dealing with something. You might, be negative towards something, or you might act negatively towards certain things. A lot of times people react in ways that are triggering. It might be something that's triggering something within, and they react a certain way. But just because you have, here's the main thing though, just because you might have some toxic traits does not mean you're a toxic person. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with that. But the thing is, a lot of times we might be having our best foot forward and good intentions and all this stuff, meaning the best, but still be having toxic behaviors. I'll use myself as an example. I was a person that was very passive aggressive, and passive aggression isn't always bad, because sometimes you have to be passive aggressive and not so full on. But I'll say that passive aggressive, at least 90% of the time, is not the way to go. And I was a person that would let things slide, let people do whatever, and they would have no idea that they're offending me or hurting my feelings or whatever. And so it would just be doing their thing, and I'm sitting here harboring all of this anger and not hate, but I never hated anybody, but just all this these negative emotions towards that person. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of resentment, starting to resent the person. And it's just because I've let all this stuff slide and I'm not saying anything, but I'm being passive aggressive. That's toxic. That's a toxic trait. And it's not toxic as in, it's malicious. It's just the fact of, it's something that I had to deal with from my childhood. Maybe I wasn't able to speak up, or, maybe I was hurt when I was a kid. People didn't really want to hear what I had to say, or I was shut down and things like that. And so in turn, into my adulthood, when I get into relationships and things like that, I didn't know how to express what I needed to say, or when I felt like someone was offending me, or someone was stepping on my toes, or I didn't really know how to do that. I'm way better at that now, and I don't let things slide like that. But for a while, that was a big issue, and these are different things that we have to deal with. Sometimes people have outbursts of anger. You won't really see people's toxicity all the time when you just have some toxic traits. That some people are just toxic altogether. Some people just they're stuck in their ways. They feel like the world has destroyed them, or they feel like they're a victim, and they just use their toxicity every single day. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to use excuses. You really want to deal with it, because the thing is, the truth of the matter is, a lot of toxic people have issues within from something that's happened, and they really haven't dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's manifesting itself in other areas of their lives. That toxic thing is something that's unhealed. It's an unhealed wound that you need to tend to. Once you heal it, you won't act that way. You'll understand. And the first step of healing is actually understanding, aware, becoming aware that you actually have the issue in the first place. Because the thing is, a lot of times people just don't really understand, or they won't even admit that they have toxic traits. I was one of those people. I'm like, I'm not toxic. I'm not a toxic person, and I'm not a toxic person. But I had toxic traits. Everyone has some type of toxic trait. It might not be, something like I'm gonna go and throw some rocks at somebody's door, or windows or something because I didn't get what I wanted. They said no to me. I'm not gonna do that type of stuff. But there's different types of toxic traits. You know what I'm saying? Like the passive aggression, that's one. Some people like to shout, or some people throw tantrums when they don't get their way. Some people like to be malicious and spread rumors and things like that, or gossip. That's toxic. When you're doing that, like if you have an issue with somebody, go talk to them. Go talk to that person. Go figure out what's going on, But the gossiping and all this other stuff is toxic. That's all. I can go on about the different types of toxic behaviors, and then this goes in with a lot of like narcissistic people. The narcissistic people, that toxic is just not. That's not even. that's a whole different spectrum of toxic. But what you need to just be able to do is identify what is going on with you. Other people might be toxic, it might have different toxic traits, but when you really start to notice these things with people, a lot of times it's things that, when things really start to bother you from other people, it's things that you need to deal with inside that you have a problem with, or you might be attracting other people that are toxic or have these same toxic traits or something. So it might not be the exact same trait, but it might be something that resonates with you with that toxic trait, if that makes sense. So really just learning how to identify these things and then being able to say, okay, I don't want to act this way anymore, especially when other people have mentioned it to me. That, this all comes back to doing shadow work, which I'll probably do another separate video about this. But doing your shadow work is really just looking within. It's like your rejected self. It's like looking at the pieces of you that you don't show to the world. These are the pieces that kind of trickle out in different situations, like when you get scared, maybe when you get angry, these different things that like to come out during certain moments, that these triggers. And the reason why you're triggered is because you're wounded in these areas, and you need to fix it. You need to figure out what it is, identify it, and then figure out what change behavior you can do. And once you get a different change behavior, you start to switch your mind. The gears start to change into a different direction, and then you don't get so offended when people say these certain things, or you don't get triggered when people do these things, and you just kind of know how to just stay away from these types of people. Don't get in these situations. You just start to remove yourself from these types of things, and then you're a whole different person by the time you're at the end of this progress that you're making. So this is what I want for you guys. I want you guys to be able to identify if you are a toxic person or if you have toxic traits, because there are two different things. You can be a great person, you can be the best person in the world, and still have a few toxic traits, and that's okay. It's just learning how to decipher it, be aware, become aware of it, and learn how to switch that behavior. Because once you figure it out, you don't want to stay the same, because that's what a lot of people do. They might multiple people might come to them and say, oh yeah, I think that you might need to look at this behavior. I feel like you're kind of it's kind of toxic. If someone comes up to you, and this person comes up to you, and this person comes up to you, and this person comes up to you and says it, three or four different people come up to you, might need to check in that. And I read a book and it was saying something about that, and I can't even remember what it was called now, but this comes into like criticism. Some people can't take criticism. I was a person like that, and that is also a toxic trait that comes from childhood. Maybe you had really critical parents, or maybe you had critical teachers, or you just didn't feel like you were good enough. This is a wound that comes from childhood, and you need to look into it if you can't take criticism. And so I was a person that was very prideful, wouldn't take no for an answer type of thing, very stubborn, and that's something I've worked on over the years. And I'm glad that I've had a couple of girlfriends, exes in the past, tell me, oh, I feel like this this is something that, you know, is a problem, and this is a problem. And once I had like 3 different women tell me that, I'm like, okay, this might be something I need to work on. And so that's why it's really important to be able to identify it and really take it in for what it is. See it for what it is. Be honest with yourself. You know, don't try and sugarcoat things and you know, try to lie to yourself to make yourself feel better. Go through the little uncomfortable pain that you have to go through to identify and accept things for what it is, and then you just need to let it go, figure out a changed behavior. That's when your healing starts, because that's the thing. Toxicity can be healed. It's just you have to identify it. You have to be, like I said, you got to be truthful with yourself. You can't just say, oh no, that's not me. No, that's not me, but it really is you. You know what I mean? So this isn't a very long video. I'm pretty much done. I just want you guys to be able to identify your different toxic traits, fix them, and, you know, watch how everything for you starts to change once you start to implement these changes. Because I'm telling you, man, no one wants to be around toxic people. That's just the truth of the matter. So, all right, y'all. Hope you guys have a good one, man. Y'all stay safe, stay elevated.